Hey everyone, Jakinto here. Today I'm coming at you with a quick start guide for the Blood DK so you can jump right into raids in Mythic Plus. So let's get started. The best covenant for raiding is going to be Kyrian, due to the healing and curing effects of File of Serenity, as well as the damage reduction and single target damage of Shackle the Unworthy. In the Kyrian covenant, you're going to want to choose Pelagos as your soulbind. Just make sure to pick up the orbs on the ground to extend your mastery buff. The best covenant for Mythic Plus is Venthyr, due to the large amounts of runic power generation and damage that Swarming Mists will deal. For your soulbind in Venthyr, you'll want to choose Nagia. General Draven can also be chosen once he's unlocked and you're pushing high level Mythic Plus and raiding. Personally, I would go Venthyr as your covenant of choice. Swarming Mists also performs pretty well single target and will get you a good amount of runic power. Now if you're looking forward to playing Necrolord or Night Fae, don't worry, they're still viable, but they do fall behind in raids and Mythic Plus. Remember, you can also switch covenants if you like, as there is a catch-up mechanic for Renown. Your first potency conduit should be Impenetrable Gloom, as this will net you the most amount of damage. Your second potency conduit should be filled with Withering Plague, as this gives you the second most amount of damage. Your first finesse conduit should be Spirit Drain due to the runic power that you gain from it. Your second finesse conduit should be Chilled Resistance for the decreased cooldown time of Icebound Fortitude. Note that Chilled Resistance can be used instead of Spirit Drain in fights that don't have any interrupts. Your first endurance conduit should be Meat Shield due to the increased Dancing Rune weapon time and the amount of maximum health you gain from parries. Your second endurance conduit should be filled with Hardened Bones for the damage reduction when you use Lichborn. This will be your default talent build for raiding, especially in a single target situation. In the first row, we do go Blood Drinker mainly for the damage output it gives us for single targets. If there's multiple targets in a fight, we can go Heartbreaker for the additional runic power generation. In the second row, we go Hemostasis for the extra healing. This one's the best by far, so we don't change this at all. In the third row, we have a choice between Relish in Blood and Blood Tap. Relish in Blood is generally the easiest ability to play, as it'll give you passive runic power and healing, so I'd recommend going this. Blood Tap is also viable if you prefer this ability. In the fourth row, Will of the Necropolis is the best by far. It gives us huge damage reduction below 30% health. Pick this every time. In the fifth row, all of these talents are viable. If there's no ads at all, I'd recommend going Wraithwalk for a bit of extra movement speed. If there are ads you have to slow, pick Grip of the Dead. If you need 30 seconds off your mass grip for whatever reason, then choose Tightening Grasp. In the sixth row, Bloodworms will be the best by far. It'll net you the most amount of damage and give you a good amount of healing. If you find yourself needing more on-demand healing, you can also go Voracious. In the final row, all talents are viable, but I would recommend going Red Thirst to decrease the cooldown of your Vampiric Blood. Purgatory can be taken if you know you're going to need that cheat death, and Bone Storm can be taken in fights that have a ton of ads. This talent setup shows the default Mythic Plus talent build. In the first row, we go Heartbreaker due to the large amounts of runic power we'll generate from it. This is the best, we don't change this. In the second row, we keep Hemostasis for the healing. We don't change this either. In the third row, we have that choice of either picking Relish in Blood or Blood Tap. If you're new, I'd recommend picking Relish in Blood. If you're more advanced, you can pick Blood Tap if you prefer. The difference is pretty marginal. In the fourth row, we do keep Will of Necropolis all the time due to the damage reduction. In the fifth row, Grip of the Dead is the best in Mythic Plus, as it is a large slow that'll be very useful for kiting. The sixth row, we do have that choice between Bloodworms and Voracious. Bloodworms will net you the most amount of damage, while Voracious can get you a good amount of healing, especially if you're doing a good amount of damage along with it. In the final row, all talents are viable. For a standard build, I would recommend going with Red Thirst, just to reduce the cooldown of your Vampiric Blood. You can go Purgatory if you feel like you'll need a cheat death. You can also go Bone Storm for the AoE damage and healing. I'd recommend only going Bone Storm if you're Venthyr, as you'll have a lot of runic power after using Swarming Mists, but it does take a bit more skill to use Bone Storm, so if you're just starting off, I'd recommend going Red Thirst. For our legendaries, we only have two legendaries that are really worthwhile to make. First one being Super Strain, second one being Brindora's Might. As of right now, I would recommend going Super Strain for every situation. It gives you the most amount of DPS throughput, as well as a good amount of runic power back due to Frost Fever. Brindora's Might is also a viable option if you want to have that on-demand runic power refund. For stat weights, we first want to choose the piece that has the highest item level due to the increased amount of armor, stamina, strength, and secondary stats. From there, we prioritize versatility, then haste, then mastery, and then finally crit. So the best pieces are going to be the ones that have high versatility with low haste. Now for necks and rings, I would take a lower item level piece if it had versatility and or haste on it. I'd probably sacrifice about 10 item levels in order to get my desired stats. Now on to item enhancements. For Cloak, we use Soul Vitality for the 30 stamina. For our chest, we use Eternal Skirmish for the 20 strength and Shadow Damage proc. Due to the Shadow Damage proc, Eternal Skirmish is actually better than Eternal Strength, as it'll net us more damage in the end. For our gloves, we use Eternal Strength for the 15 strength. For our rings, we use Tenet of Versatility for the 16 verse. Now for our weapons, we have our Rune Forges. Our default Rune Forge is Rune of the Fallen Crusader for the 15% strength and a little bit of healing that it does. Rune of Hysteria can be used as the defensive option for that 20% rune regeneration rate. Now onto the consumables. For our flask, we use Spectral Flask of Power for the 70 strength. For potions, we have two options here. For single target, we'll use Potion of Phantom Fire. For multiple targets, we use the Potion of Empowered Exorcisms. These potions are just used for DPS gain. When choosing between using an oil or a stone, we choose the oil, specifically the Shadow Core oil. Shadow Core oil has great synergy with our potions, which will also increase our DPS. For our armor kit, we use the Heavy Desolate Armor Kit that gives us 32 stamina. The food we use is Steak a la Mode, which gives us 30 versatility. Our gem sockets should be filled with Versatile Jewel Clusters, which give us 16 versatility. Now when it comes to our rotation, we have some priorities we always want to keep in mind whether we're in Raid or Mythic Plus. We never want to overcap on runic power. We always want 3 runes to be recharging at one time. We always want at least 1 charge of Blood Boil to be recharging at all times. And we want to stay above 5 stacks of Bone Shield so Ossuary is always active. Now we're going to go over the single target rotation using the default raid build. So we're going to start the pull off with Dark Command, Blood Drinker, and Rune Tap all at the same time. Halfway through our Blood Drinker cast, we're going to pop Dancing Rune Weapon, and then Mirror Rend right away to get our Bone Shield stacks. We'll then Blood Boil to get our Blood Plagues out there, and then Heart Strike to generate runic power and use our runes up. We'll then Death Strike whenever we need health, or if we're about to runic power cap, and we'll use Heart Strikes to use our runes. So here's how it looks like. So there's the 3 abilities: Dark Command, Rune Tap, Blood Drinker, Dancing Rune Weapon, Mirror Rend, Blood Boil, Heart Strike, Heart Strike. Say we need a heal, Death Strike, we'll pop our Swarming Mists, Blood Boil, keep that on cooldown, Crimson Scourge pop, so we pop Death and Decay. Now we're just Heart Striking to gain runic power, Mirror Rend when we need Bone Shields, using our Raise Dead on cooldown there, and we just keep going with that. And we'll keep an eye on our Blood Drinker. It's coming off in 2 seconds. We're going to use that now. We see a Crimson Scourge proc. We're going to use that now as well. And we keep going with that single target rotation. Now we're going to go over our multiple target rotation using the Mythic Plus build. So our opener is going to start off with a Rune Tap, followed by Dancing Rune Weapon, Mirror Rend to get our Bone Shield stacks, and Blood Boil to get threat on all the enemies. Let's see how this looks here. So we're going with a Rune Tap, Dancing Rune Weapon right away, Mirror Rend, Blood Boil, get threat on all the enemies. We'll Heart Strike. We'll pop our Swarming Mists here. Death Strike as we're about to cap. Blood Boil. Death Strike. Crimson Scourge pop, so we'll use our Death and Decay. Make sure we don't overcap, so we'll Death Strike here. And we just keep going with this. Once we drop our Death and Decay, make sure to use a lot of Heart Strikes as it will attack more enemies. Just keep using your Crimson Scourge procs with Death and Decay. Keep a Blood Boil charge going. Use your Raise Dead on cooldown there. And keep your Bone Shield stacks above 5. Now I'm going to go over cooldown usage. Icebound Fortitude is your big 8-second, 30% damage reduction cooldown. You should use IBF when you're going to be taking a lot of damage for a prolonged period of time. Anti-Magic Shell is your big personal cooldown for magic abilities. You should use AMS when you're about to take a lot of magic damage or have a harmful magic effect applied to you that you don't want to be applied to you. Anti-Magic Zone is your big magic damage raid cooldown. You want to use this ability when your whole party or raid is about to take a lot of magic damage. Lichborn is a 2-minute cooldown that grants you immunity to Charm, Sleep, and Fear effects. It also gives you 10% leech. You should use Lichborn when one of these effects is about to be applied to you. If you know you won't be receiving any of these effects in the next 2 minutes, you can use this cooldown for its leech. Raise Dead summons a ghoul that does a lot of damage. This should be used on cooldown. Remember to use Sacrificial Pact just before your ghoul is about to die, or if you end up needing the 25% health while your ghoul is alive. Rune Tap should be used before each pull to smooth out the opening damage. You can also use Rune Tap during the pull if you're about to take a lot of damage or just to smooth out the damage incoming to you. Dancing Rune Weapon should be used on pull as well to generate Bone Shield stacks quickly. Using Mirror Rend while Dancing Rune Weapon is activated will give you 6 stacks of Bone Shield. From here, you want to use Dancing Rune Weapon when you can use the parry or if you're falling behind on Bone Shield stacks. You can pretty much use it on cooldown. Your Covenant ability should be used on cooldown. Vampiric Blood increases your maximum health and increases your incoming healing and absorbs. If you have Red Thirst talented, you can pretty much use Vampiric Blood on cooldown as it'll be up a lot. If you don't have it talented, you do have to think a bit more about when you want to use Vampiric Blood. You should be using it when you want a lot of extra health and extra healing done to you. So that includes my quick start guide to the Blood Death Knight. I hope this helps everyone playing Blood DK go into Mythic Plus and raids knowing what they need to do. Thank you so much for watching, everyone. I really appreciate the support. Please like the video and subscribe to me if you enjoyed the video. Check me out streaming at twitch.tv/JakintoDK. Have a good one, y'all.